Hello everyone, welcome back to another Minecraft tutorial. Today, everything you could possibly need to know about tellraw to an extent, because I'm not that smart. Today, if you were curious, we're going through tellraw, font, colors, extra, style, selector, keybind, translate, score, insertion, clickEvent, hoverEvent, and NBT. And that is everything you need to know. Boom, tutorial over. No, but seriously, if there's a very specific thing you want to learn, such as clickable text or something, look at the chapters below and go right there, because this will be a long time. By the way, I am in Java. This is a Java tutorial. I do not know how Bedrock Edition works, so if you're in Bedrock, I'm very sorry, but I cannot help you. So what is tellraw? It gives you a funny little message, like hi in the chat. So that's what it gives you a funny little message, and there's a lot of ways you can manipulate that funny message. You can make it have fun little colors. You can have it make it fun little styles. You can have it even have fun little fonts. You can click on it. You can do whatever you want to an extent. So let's begin. Slash tellraw, and then a selector. A selector is going to be who is going to read this funny little text of yours. It could be a name, or it could be one of these options. So we have at E, which is it will do to every entity, and if you put it in square brackets, you can specify who gets it. At P, which is one player, I believe the closest. At A for all players. At R for random player, and at S for self/selected. We won't talk about that today, though. So, in its basics form, we can have slash tellraw. Let's do my name. I did tab to autocomplete, and then in quotation marks, your funny little message. Hello. There we go. Now it says hello. Now, let's start getting into things. Text. Text is text. So, instead of quotation marks, you put curly brackets here. And then, in quotation marks, text, colon, and then your text. So we could do hello, and that says hello. You could even do a return line. So we could do hello, good morning, on two separate lines. Here, let's clear the chat. Look at that, it says hello, and then on the next line it says good morning, and you would do that with \n. Now, if you wanted to have something in quotes, let's put hello in quotes, you could see it gets all red and angry. So to fix that, put a / before every quotation mark. So now it says hello in quotation marks. The same goes for if you just put a \, it gets angry. So if you wanted to have a \, put another \. And now we've typed a \, and that is all the text. Moving on, let's go to fonts. So, there are 4 options for fonts. There's default, uniform, illageralt, and alt. Here's my example of fonts right here. We have uniform, then regular, then uniform again. And that was this command. So, slash tellraw, let's do at everyone. You would have a text, so wee, and then comma, in quotation marks, font, colon, and then the font of your choice. So let's go with uniform. And now we have we in uniform, mind you. And so font is a modifier. It is applied to this text right here. And you can have multiple modifiers on a single text component. So we could have a font on this, a color on this, a style, what have you. Our other options, so default is default. Alt, which might be enchanting table. This little square here means that that character does not exist, so my exclamation point has made it angry. There's also illageralt. I don't know what that is, but it's a fun font which is in the game. As a note, as you can see here, I have uniform, default, uniform. If I go to language and turn on uniform, or Unicode, whatever it's called, you could see now that default font has all gone to uniform. So this is just uniform, even though the middle is set to default. But you may be asking, how did you have text which was in uniform and was also, whoopsie daisies, also in default? Well, that we can do multiple text component stuff. So let's actually give myself a command block to make this easier. Boop. There we go. So slash tellraw. And then in square brackets this time, and then in curly brackets, we can have our first text, so wowza, and then let's have that be in alt, and then comma after this curly bracket, and then another pair of curly brackets, and this will be our next text. Wowz again, but this one we can use a different font for. So let's do default. So now the first part was in alt, the last one was in default. I will say that if we did not have a font here, you'll notice that that wowz was also given the alt font. And that is because the first curly bracket pair here is seen as the parent, and everything else is its child. It inherits whatever it has. So wowz is given the font alt, even though I did not specify what the font was for wowz. But I specified what the font was over here, which is why it had default. So that's how to have multiple stuffs. Next we have color. Color is another modifier, and there's a lot of options. We got all these options. White is default. We got all these options here. You could pause the video to see them. Let me show you how to do a color. So wowza, in quotation marks, color, colon, and then the color of your choice. So let's go with green. And as per usual, the second one inherits it. Also, you can actually use hex codes for colors. So if you do not like any of the lovely colors mentioned here, you can make one of your own, such as brown. So let's just do some text here. I don't know. Brown, comma, color. So you do hashtag 964B00. And now it's in brown, which is not a color you can get regularly. And as per usual, if you have two things, the second one you can have be another color, which is different. And that's how you would have like rainbow text. You would have to separate each individual letter by a curly bracket pair. Now we have extra. Extra is another way of having multiple stuffs, but I guess it does look a bit easier to understand, if you will. /tellraw, and so let's say my first text was John, and then the color of John was gold. So we have John as gold. Now what we can do is comma, in quotation marks, extra, colon, square brackets, and then curly brackets, and then do exactly what we did the first time. Text is just an exclamation point, and the color of the exclamation point will be inherited. So everything in extra will take what is in the text before the extra. But as you can see in this example here, I have extra where with whoa, which is bold, before the text, but the text was printed before extra. So I guess keep that in mind. Extra text, and then we can make this its own color, so red. And then you could go even further and give this one an extra, and so we could have another exclamation point. And this exclamation point will also inherit the thing of the first extra. So it does not, even though it didn't specify a color, it got the red from this curly bracket pair. It did not get the color from John. I hope that made sense. Moving on, styles. There are 5 style options you have. You can put all of them or none of them on something. There is bold, italic, underline, obfuscated, and strike through. Obfuscated makes the letters go all cuckoo crazy. So if we go over here to style, as you can see, this mess right here is a style. Everything's bold as well. Let's give an example here. Let's say we had Bob and we want to make Bob bold. You do comma and then in quotation marks bold, and this time without quotation marks after a colon, either true or false, because it's a Boolean. So true would make Bob bold, and you could do as many of these as you want. So we could do italic, true as well. So now Bob is italicized, and maybe even underlined if we wanted to. Now Bob is underlined as well. You can do what you could also put a color. So Bob is now red and bold and italicized and underlined, and you could even have a font such as alt or something, and now you can't read that that's Bob since it is a Boolean. When would you have it be false? Well, let's say we had extra here, and in the next section we had lob. As you can see, it inherits all these properties. So lob is also red, it is also bold, it is also italicized, it is also underlined. But let's say for lob I did not want it to be bold. I would do bold colon is false, and now lob is not bold. And I also don't want lob to be underlined, so I would say underlined is false. And there you go. And then I guess we'll do another one with an extra, comma, curly bracket. I probably should have mentioned, you don't need to keep going, putting an extra within an extra within an extra. Let's put another one in extra. This one is law, as you can see. Law will inherit the stuff from Bob. And law, I want to be, let's see, I just want to show you the other options. So strike through, true for this one. And so now law is strike through. And then I'll show obfuscated, which is the most fun one to use, which just makes it this absolute mess. Moving on, selectors. So let me summon these fun cows here. So a selector is how you get a map to say you joined the game, or if you had a dialogue with the player who's saying, oh, I can't wait to go into this house, you could have something like that. So it says my name is so awesome. So to do that, tellraw selector as usual, and then this is a separate from text. So it's selector. Selector can have its own modifier, so we could give it, let's make it gold. Actually, let's give it yellow. And so the selector can be any of the ones I mentioned at the very beginning of the video. So let's say at E. Now it says my name, it says this cow, that cow, and that cow. Notice that my name is now yellow, since I said color was yellow. This love is now yellow, but everything else is not changed to yellow. That's because the color of the names actually override it. So if my name was a different color, like I was on a team or whatever, it would not be overwritten. But the I love, since that was not assigned a color, was overwritten. And this one actually has at E type equals cow for the selector, which only says our cows here. You can see that they're automatically separated by a gray comma and a space. You can do whatever you want with that. You can just make it say and that is with separator. Well, first of all, just so I could show that text and selector are separate. You cannot have text and selector in the same thing. One will override the other. So let's just say cows. And then what are our cows? Let's put it in the next curly bracket pair. And we'll have our selector of our cows. And a separator, which is in quotation marks, colon, and then curly brackets, and in that, anything you want. So let's do, I don't know, maybe these cows really do not like each other. So let's do hate. We can make it bold. We can make it red. So now it says, here are our cows. This cow, which hates this cow, which hates this cow. And so that is what separator is, and that is what selector is. Next is keybind. I don't know when you would use keybind, but you could. In this instance, I have attack, destroy, and text, and then a keybind, which is key.attack. So what is my key, which is set for attack and destroy? It is V, and for use item / place block, it is C. My controls are quite weird. And so to do that, let's get a keybind. I could have a keybind is also not a modifier, so you can not have keybind text or selector in the same thing. So keybind and then key dot jump, and that will be space. And again, you could put whatever modifiers you want on it. So jump is, my jump key is now space. Key dot sneak, which is a le shift. And so if you go into your keybinds, that is what all these. It will say the player's keybind. So as you can see, I do have C for use item, I have V for attack destroy. I don't know when you would use that, but it's fun. It's fun. That's an option for you. If you want to find the list of keybinds, I'll have a link in the description. Probably my favorite thing is translate and with. So translate, this might disappoint you, is not you just type in some words and then if you change the language, it automatically translates it to that language. But there are certain phrases already in the game, such as game menu, back to game, give feedback, open to LAN. All these things are already in the game, and if you change the language, such as, let's go to Shakespearean English, you could see that Minecraft has already changed a bunch of these to that certain language automatically. So this could be very helpful if you have a server with a bunch of different people in a bunch of different languages and you use certain key phrases already in the game. For instance, I have menu.game. If I was in regular English, this would say game menu. If, however, I was in a different language, such as pirate speak, this now says battle menu. So the formatting there was just translate in quotation marks, colon, and then the specific phrase. So here's, this one uses with, I'll show that with after. But here's a bunch of examples. No way! And then Jimmy was pummeled to pieces by your mom. And that was with, where if a specific text has what looks like this, %s, you would need to, hello there, you would need to put in something to replace it. So what this actually said, death.attack.thrown, was %s was pummeled to pieces by %s. And so the with here, comma, with in quotation marks, colon, square brackets, and then Jimmy, comma, and then your mom. Jimmy went for this %s, your mom went for that %s. Here's other ones. We got mirror.left_right, mirror.front_back. Those are just some arrows. We got an out-of-memory message, which, remember, I'm still in pirate speak, so it says, "Arg, your ship has run out of thinking. This could be caused by too many barnacles on your ship, or the Java virtual machine not being allowed enough thinking." So let me show you, where do you get all these funny phrases from? Well, you would use English_us.json file. That's where all this is stored. But how do you get there? So find your .minecraft folder. On Windows, you would hit the Windows key and R, and then type in %appdata%. Hit OK. Go to .minecraft. Go to versions. Go to whichever version you're currently in that you would like to have translate the translate text. So I'm in 1.19. Find this 1.19.jar file. If it does not say .jar, make sure in view you have file name extensions checked on. Then take this, copy it, go to your desktop, put it on said desktop. Right there, that's awesome. Rename it to 1.19 and then .zip instead of .jar. This will shove it into a zip file. Then extract everything in it. So unzip it if you're on Mac. So right click, extract all, and then you would extract it. I already did it. It takes quite a long time. Then in this lovely extracted folder, go to assets, go to Minecraft, and go to lang, and there's the file. If you do not have anything with which reads .json files, get a text editor or something. For instance, I use Sublime, and here they all are. Look at that. All of these lovely phrases in the game which will translate to whichever language the player is playing in. Look, there's that out-of-memory message right there. That's awesome. There's that mirror one with these custom characters. That's awesome. Right here, as you can see, this %s again, you would use with to override that. So let's actually get an example from here. So we have commands.enchant.fail.incompatible. So let's copy this one, go back to Minecraft, /tellraw, and then in quotation marks translate commands.enchant.fail.incompatible. And then cannot hold that kind of wizardry since I'm in pirate speak. And then comma with, since there was a %s at the beginning, colon in square brackets, and then we can do curly brackets if I want a selector, and let's do my name. So Bob cannot hold that kind of wizardry. So you could see how this could be quite helpful, like if you have a server or just you're a big time map maker, you want all the languages supported, then you can do that. There is also other use. There's other use. So in this case, I have translate, and then I wrote my own custom message, and then with what replaces these %s's and stuff. And so you could do something like that. That might have some uses. I don't know what they would be, but if you want to know how the %s and stuff work, you can mess around with certain ones. Like they have a bunch of translate tests. So we have .escape, blah blah, and look at all these weird %S's, $1 What does that mean? I don't know, but you could mess around with these, so you can figure that all out from there. Score! Score is how you would use stuff from a scoreboard. So if you had a scoreboard and some stuff and you wanted to shove that into chat, then it would be quite helpful to use a score. So you can see I have 1 next to my name and then some random person with their number. And score works in the way that you have a score, and then in curly brackets you have a name, and then asterisk. Asterisk gives the score of whoever is reading it. So most Brian, please. So most of the time you will want to put asterisk in the name field. You can also put a specific player's name, or you could put a selector. And then objective is where you got what you're getting their score from. So in this case, I get a 1, and this one where the name is this person from objective X, it gets that number. And then, just so you can show that selectors also work. Alright, well the sun has vanished, so sorry about that. But I forgot to mention that for score, if for the name you use a selector, make sure that the limit is equal to 1. You can only take the score of one thing at a time, so make sure that's there. There's also value, which it's supposed to override what the actual score is, but from my experience it does absolutely nothing. So if anyone knows how value works, please let me know. So anyways, an example. So let's say we had a new scoreboard called death, and it was a death counter with whatever that is. And we set it to the sidebar. And I was just wandering around, and oh my gosh, I've died, tragedy. And what is this? Oh my gosh, I've died again. And maybe it's a map, and it's just like, hey, we want to tell you how many times you've died, because maps like to do that. You do, in quotes, score, colon, in curly brackets, and then in quotation marks, name. And so for now, let's just do my player name. I would recommend doing asterisk, but let's do my player name, comma, in quotation marks, objective, and the objective, colon, in quotation marks, was death. So now it says 2, look at that. And if I die, and then I do this again, now it says 3. That's awesome. Just as a note, you can still apply colors and modifiers and whatnot. So now the 3 is red. That's so awesome. And that's that. Again, you could use asterisk, which probably if you're making a map, you'll want to use asterisk. And you could also use a selector. So type equals player. This should be fine since I'm only playing the world. But if there were multiple, make sure that it's comma limit equals 1. Okay, there you go. Next is insertion. If the text is shift clicked, a certain string will be inserted into the chat comma, and it does not overwrite the text. I meant to say chat there, but there's clearly an error. We have insertion, shift click here to copy command, and I'm already typing something, and I shift click there, and I now put in /summon cow, and then I could shift click as many times as I want to put in more /summon cows. So text, blah blah blah, comma, insertion in quotation marks, colon, and then whatever you want to type. So, oh no, hello. If I shift click on this, hello will be shoved into my chat. That is insertion. Finally, what you've all been waiting for, clickEvent. This is clickable text. There are 4 options: open URL, run command, suggest command, and copy to clipboard. If I click here, it'll take me to a website. That's awesome. If I click here, I don't know, if I click no, it'll just say good. If I click here, it'll blow me up. That's awesome. Click suggest command. Suggest command, even if you're typing something, it overrides it with a suggested command. And you can choose to click enter and actually use the command and copy to clipboard, where if I click on this, whatever it has copied, and I do control V or command V, it will just be copied and pasted into my chat. So you need some sort of text. So in quotation marks, click, comma, capital event, quotation marks, colon, curly brackets, then in quotation marks, action, colon, and then one of the 4 actions. So let's do open underscore URL, comma, and then value in quotation marks, colon, and then whatever you want. So Since it's a website, let's just, I don't know, maybe you want to take it to Minecraft.net. So now if I click wow wow, it'll take you to Minecraft.net. Look at that. All of them follow this structure. So action blah value blah. So I could do action copy underscore to underscore clipboard. And now if I click on wow 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 and I do command V, it just puts this website, because that was what was in the value field. I could change this to run underscore command, and then you would put a command in here. So let us summon a cow if we click on wow wow wow. So now if I click wow wow wow, look, we're summoning cows with every wow 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 we click on. There is suggest command. So I could be typing away, click this, and it'll replace everything with summon cow. And if I choose to, I can click enter and actually summon a cow. So that is how clickEvent works. Next is hoverEvent. HoverEvent follows the same structure as action and value. There's 3 actions: show text, show item, and show entity. But there's also contents instead of value. You can't have value and contents together because one will override the other. I do not know what the difference between value and contents is. There is a difference sometimes. We have race car, and look, it has little text hovering over it. That's so cute. Look at the little tags. Wow. Let's do an example. Woohoo. If we do some text and we go, yeah, pizza, and then comma, in quotation marks, hover, capital event, colon, in these curly brackets, action. Our action is going to be show underscore text, comma, and then there's value and there's contents. For show text, value and contents does the exact same thing. Let's do value first. So value, colon, and then square brackets, in that curly brackets, and then your standard JSON. We've been talking about this entire time. So I hate pizza or something, and that could be, whoopsie daisy, sorry. And that could be the color red or something. So if we hover over pizza, it says, I hate pizza. Oh no. You could also have it, if you want, you could just have it return lines in the, in this. So now it says, on different lines, if you so choose. And again, value and contents does the exact same thing here. So if I replaced value with contents, same thing would happen. Now on to show item. So if I am over here and I hover over all these things, look at all the things which show up. That is what show item will do. So if I click on this, it'll have a similar display come up. This one was a diamond sword with all these things on it. So you need an ID, count, which has to be at least 1, and tag, which is optional. Tag is where you would put stuff like a name, enchantment, lore, attribute, stuff like that. There actually is for this one a difference between value and contents, and I will show that. So let's actually use the command block to make everything easier to visualize. So let's just say I have a message, hoverEvent. There we go. Our action this time is show underscore item, comma, and let's start with value first. So colon, and then in quotation marks, and then in curly brackets, and then our information. So we have our ID. So let's go with a netherite chest plate, comma, our count, which C is capitalized, colon, 1. And then if we so choose, we can have a tag. So if we hover over this, look, it has all the information of a netherite chest plate. For contents, if we use contents, you would get rid of the quotation marks around the curly bracket, but everything else has to have quotation marks. So ID, quotation marks, colon, quotation marks, netherite chest plate, quotation marks, comma, quotation marks, count, quotation marks, colon, 1. And then, comma, if we add tag, it'd be quotation marks, tag, colon, quotation marks, curly brackets. If it was value, you would not need the quotation marks around these curly brackets or around tag. But since we're using contents, you would. For show item, I would recommend that you use value instead of contents. But within tag, you could do whatever you want. You could have unbreakable. So now look, oh my gosh, it's unbreakable right there. I showed in another video how to have give an item a custom name. So I won't be going over that. But as you can see here, it's very angry when you use quotation marks. So you actually have to put a backslash in front of every quotation mark you use, not the single quotes. But text, quotation mark, oh no, name, backslash, quotation marks, and now this netherite chest plate has name as its name. And finally, we have show entity. So if I hover over this, it has type zombie and then a UUID. So for example, if I summon a cow and I hover over it, this is the display that would come up. This is show entity. The name is cow, the type is cow, and then there's a weird wacky UID, which is a special number that Minecraft likes to distinguish mobs from each other. A name is optional. I only could figure out how to do name for contents and not value. Apparently. Value. So I'll just be showing contents. If you do not include a type, it'll default it as a pig. So for example, if I hover over this letter A, it just says type is pig, even though I did not include a type here. And then you need ID, which is UUID. There are randomizers online to get a randomized UUID. You can make your own if you want, and it goes by 844412 is the structure. All separated by hyphens if you wanted to. I don't know why you would. I'm just going to show the shorthand, which is just 0 hyphen 0 hyphen 0 hyphen 0 hyphen whatever. But let's do an example. Our action this time around is show underscore entity. I'm sure you got that at this point. And then contents, whoopsie daisies, and the quotation marks. Oh no, colon. We would do curly brackets, and then ID, colon, which is the UUID. So I'll just do the simplest one, which is 0 hyphen 0 hyphen 0 hyphen 0 hyphen 0. 5 of them, comma, and then a type in quotation marks, colon, and then the type. So let's go with the squid. So if we hover over this, it says type is squid, and then you got that crazy UID. What this shorthand does, if you put a 1 there, you could see the 1's now there. I mean, I could put 4 1's there and call it a day, and then like, wow, that's all 1. So you could do that if you want. And then a name is optional, but you can do it, comma, in quotation marks, name, colon, square brackets, curly brackets, and then it's the name as usual. Hooray, our JSON, we love it so much. So it could be Bob. It could have a fun color like FF000. There we go. So that is show entity. And that leaves us with our final thing, which is NBT. Now NBT will give you the NBT value of some sort of NBT path for either a entity, a block, or storage, whatever storage is. There's also interpret, which is automatically false. If you don't know what interpret is, there it is. Tell me if you know what the heck that does. And you could also use separator here. I'll explain all that. So for instance, this command right here, I just put interpret for fun, I don't know, will give the X position of the entity, which is a cow, and I did it sorted by nearest of all the cows. And then for separator, so like in selector, when it has a list of entities, you can choose how it separates each entity. I'll have a return, so if I click this, now I have the X position of all of them, if I wanted that. Let me give an example. So NBT in quotes, colon, and then the path. So let's go with custom name. I'll look for all entities that have custom. Oh, it's daytime now. Okay. So entity in quotation marks, sorry, colon, and then right here it wants a selector. So what entity are you taking it from? I'll just take it from all entities. And so now it says there's only 3 entities which apply, and it says their name. So we have the funny color guy. Look how extra is formatted if you're curious. It's got Brian going on, it's got Horatio going, it's got all their names, and I mean, that's not the easiest to read, so I could do separator like we did for selectors, and I could do each of them spaced on 2 returns, so there we go, now they're all nice and separate. So that is basically NBT. You can do it for blocks. So for a block, I'm using this sign here, and I want text 1 from it. And you put in the coordinates. So X, Y, Z. These could also be relative, as in you can just put in tildes or carets. And so this one gives me that. And this one has a separator, and it's going to tell me all of the items in this chest. Ooh. And there they are, each line separated by a red comma and a return. So those are all that stuff. And finally, there is storage. I don't know what storage is, but you use an NBT path where it says storage. You would put a namespaced ID. I don't know what storage is. I don't know what storage is. If you do, please let me know. But that's the last thing you could do. That's the entire tutorial done. Thank you for watching the tutorial. Goodbye.